The other way, the other way. All right, coloring with Crayola crayons in the D. McDonald's Alien Art 2021 book, which also says Bottle Bots from Outer Space. That's not part of the title, I just liked it. So here is a look at how to do this. Doing it with me, doing it with Deb. Let's pick a page. Pick a page. We'll kind of look at some of the colored pages of what I've done. Really mostly working with crayon, and then I might come along with my pencils using my inexpensive pencils first, and then only after that, like this, I did use everything. Everything I owned is somewhere in this. Not everything, but quite a bit, including even a little bit of marker, alcohol marker. And I don't think I'm finished with this yet. I'm letting it sit. This one I started with outlining it with a Sakura Black Glaze pen because I really wanted that outline. I'm playing around with him. Crayon first, pencil after. So I start with crayon. It creates a nice waxy base. It's easy to do. Let's work with this guy. All right, because I started. So I used some kind of red, violet, red, violet, pink. I'm going to select a purple. Find a purple. So I'm looking at my crayon cans that are all surrounding this. Whatever you are, you're it. That's how I pick. Blue violet. So I'm going to take my blue violet and I'm going over here and I'm just going to demonstrate how nicely, how easily this lays down over the grayscale. This book includes grayscale and not grayscale, but I really enjoy the grayscale. It was done with a black crayon for the most part, and then the process. There's a big process of getting it into book format. Pixelizing. I think I'm even going to go with purple up here for his ears. Sometimes black. The big choice is, what do I do with his face? Do I want a totally different color face, or do I want to sort of keep them the same? These are aliens that are actually glass bottle aliens. That's the story behind them. Because I really do enjoy glass bottles. And this entire thing was about trying to keep my mind from just crumbling internally. Yeah. So we have the translucency. You see the back of the bottle, the behind thing going on here. So that was now. What I will do is I will take a good pencil afterwards, and it's going to be. These were on sale recently at the time of this broadcast, which is, I don't know what date it is. I have to move my yellow. 1/18/2021. They were, I put things on my wish list. It was the small set of Prismas, and they were like, I don't know, under $12, which is not a bad price. And I was really low on white and black. So for the price, it was a good price. It actually went up like $1 since I bought them. Anything I'm interested in, I put on my wish list on Amazon, because I buy my supplies there, even before the virus. I also enjoy having things just delivered. It makes for the life of a hermit to be a little more fun. So after you put your crayon down, that's when I go and do my the coloring. All right, now I kind of like, I don't know. That was something violet, blue violet. I want purple, purple. Dig around for purple, purple. I don't know. Blue violet just wants to come up. All right, let's move over here to these crayons. These are Crayola twistable crayons, and they're wonderful in this book. So we'll demonstrate that. Like, you can put quite a bit of thought into this, and you can put like zero thought into it. That's really cool. That you have a choice between just relaxing and getting out the rather reasonably priced Prisma Crayola crayon twistables. They're smoother than a crayon, a little more translucent than a crayon. And you don't have to worry about blending and shading and everything. You could just get lost in the wonderful process of turning something from black and white and gray into something with a little color to it. Hello there, N person. Hi, N person. I'm glad you're enjoying looking at it, and you won't get bored because I have been doing these for a long, long time. I find skipping around sometimes. They're long. One of the things I don't really like, because I just don't really like it, is when somebody colors and they start. I don't need all of the music and the cutting around and the fast paced stuff where they speed you up. When I watch someone color, I really want it to be slow. I can control how long I watch, but I want to see the real process. I'm not all about the finished part. I learned this long ago when I would travel with my children, that it was actually the trip, not the destination, that became the most interesting part of our journeys, our adventures. It was actually more things happened on the wayside than it did when we finally got to where we were going. And so I like to watch the whole thing. And what's really nice is you can fast forward through things and click and look and go, okay, and realize you missed something. Just let it roll. This is really calming. These crazy creatures, and the ease in which they color is just really helping me make it through this time in our world. So I'm very glad that I have discovered this as a therapeutic. It really, even when I'm watching something that's stressing me out, I'm doing this and saying it's going to be okay. I mean, it may not be okay. That's all right. But let it just color, color, and listen, and breathe. Breathe in, breathe out. So once again, at the end, I would go around with my Prisma or any pencil or an ink pen or something like that to just, this guy has like stress marks on the sides of his eyes. And if I didn't put eyebrows, like this guy definitely has his I don't know, they're kind of missing. So feel free to add it. And when you do the smile above their eyes, it actually turns into stressed out. So a smile on your lips is very different than a smile above your eyes or theirs. So you'll see that. And the book has an area in the back of it for being able to play around with eyes and adding eyes if you want to do that. Because after I did, it was really hard for me to not want to put the little circles in there. So I knew I was going to give myself a few pages in the back to go ahead and do that and maybe be able to refrain from doing it in the front of the book. I sometimes take quite a bit of abuse from people who don't understand why I include duplicate pages, because basically they there's so many different variations on human beings, and a very creative person doesn't do something the same way ever twice. And very highly creative people um, understand that, I could cover that couch every day differently for a very long time. And I suppose it's why we ponder infinity too, because we experience it and that we know really it's never finished and nothing is ever really done as as we see it, as far ahead as we are able to see. So this is where I take the very good Prisma or even a Sharpie, I guess. I just can't handle the smell of a Sharpie. And and bump it up a little bit. The same thing with once you put your crayon down, you can then come along with a Prisma or any pencil, and add a layer of that over it. And then you can even go another step to the alcohol markers or any kind of marker and even add even more powerful, colorful strength. But I really want to sort of keep these transparent so that they have a little bit of a glass look to them. And that's one of the things that I'm really playing around with, is working on coloring glass to actually make it look like glass, which is not that easy to do. So if you're really talented at that, and you've really never had to work very hard at it, it's what you're good at. Some people do all kinds of crazy stuff to color. They swatch, they do this. I let my hand pick generally. It just happens. And I like that. It's fun. Coloring to me should be all about fun. Here I use blue crayons, purple crayons, and I just wanted to keep them sort of together. And I have not gone through and outlined them or popped them up in any way. I began this one with my favorite shades of blue and cerulean. So I would start with the cerulean. Might be mispronouncing it. When I started coloring with crayons and things a few years ago, I came to find out I didn't know all my crayon colors. I didn't know there could be that many names for that many shades of blue. And I still don't know. Well, I'm sure they're coming up with new variations daily. As long as there's a market for it, someone will fill the need at some point in time. I haven't decided what I want to do with that. And I really still don't know. So I'll just leave it alone and come back to it, perhaps, or maybe never. So here I'm using a pale shade of blue crayon. You could very easily play forever with just these. And and make it extremely economical. I was saving these for doing this because they have nice styles. So I'm going to take that. I got really lucky and found like a 50-cent sale a few years ago, and I bought probably 100 packs. Well, maybe not that many, but it seemed like an awful lot of packs. All right. My other favorite is blue-green. And the blue-green is just slightly bolder. So I'm going to go over this now a little bit with the blue-green. And unfortunately, this is a pack of really old ones. Oh, something just blew up in our neighborhood. Isn't that fun? This one has the dandelion, so I know it's not going to have Blutiful in it. And I grabbed a couple of the packs when dandelion was taken away because it is actually one of my favorite yellows. All right, this is a newer one. This is Beautiful. So what I would do is I'm going to use Beautiful, which is the darkest shade of blue before it gets to indigo, which has purple to it. And this side has been sitting up for a day, and I have found that it's easier to layer over crayon if you actually give it some time to set up and dry out, like anything, like our skin. Everything that dries up, dries out. And I'm going to use the Beautiful over in the arms. Getting the idea? Yeah, we're getting it. This is really pretty easy to color, isn't it? Yes, it is. You really can't go wrong with this. Unless you're just a scribbler. You can always really color hideously, but if you take a little bit of time, and they give you several shades, and I make this point very clear. You have several shades of orange in the 24 pack. I got that right. And there's a reason. And if you work with all of these shades right in here, you can do some really amazing things. Then look, you don't just get pink. You have shades of red, shades of this family. So you work with this. And you start with your darkest and go to your light. It'll look like you're really good at what you're doing. Let's toss that in there at ya. That works. Dark toward the edges, and then keep bringing it in with a lighter color. When my crayons go down, that sound is much louder on here than my voice. All right, so moving along. There's just all of these happy and perplexed people. Shades of blue and green. And then I left this because I'm going to go with the dandelion in here. The dandelion yellow. Could be orange, and it could be any color you want. Just because I see it as a moon, you may not. But I'm going to highlight that. I call this piece the mixologist. And I actually have the originals. I saved and signed those. So these were not done on computer. They were done by hand and then photographed and then all put through a whole lot. But I like him. I just think he's strangely interesting. All right, and this is one of my favorite. But he actually shows up twice, which is good because you want two cracks at him for sure. Because he could be really, I've seen people color him and he just turns out to be super cool. All right, shades of blue, indigo. I will come along now with the Beautiful and use that again over here as my darkest shade of going towards the end of that area. And then over here, work myself out with the blue-green. It's just easy to do, easy to do. Yes, it's easy to do. This would be very enjoyable to color with a young person side by side. You have a book, they have a book, you work on it together. Also, in one of my former lives, not all that many years ago, but quite some time ago, I was a special education teacher. I was an English literature teacher, and I was an English teacher. Um, I was long-term substitute teaching in the city of Milwaukee, and they found out that I was pretty good in the special education severe behavioral disorder rooms, where many teachers ended up in the hospital. But my students, they might have thrown markers and crayons at me, but they never really injured me, and I had a niche with them. And one of the things that I learned was that by doing something like this with them, it really slowed them down. And they thought coloring was for babies. They were insulted at first, but when I showed them, oh look, they were like, oh maybe, yeah, let's give it a shot. And they got better and better. And then I was able to teach them to read. Their behavior improved. But I found that working with them in a nice coloring is a quiet, gentle, relaxing activity, and you don't. The best way to teach is teaching and doing it together, not just open the book and turn to page whatever. You lose your students that way. But doing it together, baking together, cleaning together, together. Look what I'm doing, look what you're doing. Wow, that's pretty cool. And sharing. And I knew we were really getting somewhere when these poor children who have just, they were so horribly treated by the fellow students in the school and everything, when they held up what they did and smiled and showed it around the room, and they were 14 years old and never getting out of the eighth grade. I knew I was going somewhere good with them. I knew when they had a sense of happiness and pride that had been ripped away from them by failure after failure after failure, I knew the healing was beginning. And once that happened, I would be able to get them to go to the places where they had so failed, and that was becoming literate, and that they would know that if I could teach you to color, and we saved day one, which was really horrible coloring, and I showed them, look, you've been working on this, and every day you get a little better at it. And when it came time to work on, I taught them in a, they didn't know they were learning way, snuck it in. Um, Eventually they read two college level pages, and it was a moment in my life that I will never forget, the pride and the way that room glowed that day. Um, and I said, you may never read anything else, but at least you read these two pages. So technically, you could tell people, I can read. That's right. And then get out those two pages that you know. and there, take that. All right, so I did go grab the Prisma Black to kind of pop that up a little bit, and that outlining afterwards really works well. Coloring over crayons is really, really fun, and it works well. And the reason why, and you can use cheap, inexpensive, even the Crayola pencils, but I have like pencils that I just, to me, they were fail. But when you use them over the crayon, I think chemically, here's what happens. You are using a pencil that isn't very creamy, but you color over the creamy crayon, and it smooths it all out, and it makes sense. If the pencil that you're working with is rather dry and it's not premium, expensive Prismas that are very high in their wax content, well, it makes sense because there is nothing waxier than a crayon at all. Now, I'm sure there is, but it works. And it also helps get the color, the little molecules into the fiber of the paper, and I like it. And also there's very little frictional resistance, so that's kind of cool too. That the pencil will just glide over that crayon and make for some really beautiful art. And then, never be afraid to just keep trying different things. And these crayons, the twistables, which are more like lipstick, only I tried it, they will not go on your lips. Yeah. This is also why I was really good with special ed kids, because I've been known to try. I will also tell you, if there's a flood or something coming and you want your body to be identified, a fire like in paradise, that ain't going to help. But whiteout is very difficult to get off of skin. white out. It's difficult to get off your skin. And I'm going to tell you something, never do, unless you expect your body to be, found floating somewhere, don't put it on your teeth. I thought it would be funny one time to be entertaining on the internet and white out my teeth for the brightest smile. I think I destroyed tooth enamel because the only way to get white out of your teeth is a razor blade. So please do not. That goes on the list. Don't stick your fingers in the light socket. Those things that your mother and her mother has passed along over the years, ages and ages of wisdom. Don't white out your teeth. You will have a bright white smile that actually people have to put sunglasses on. It was not a brilliant thing to do. All right, we're getting a little bit of glare there because the light is way too bright there. No matter which way I go, crayon is shiny. Shiny. I'll just sort of like hold it this way. I love these guys. I started them off with crayon. These I will color the background with crayon, and I am pretty sure I will use the expensive Sakura glaze on the triangles. That's just, and I'm sick. Now let's page over to her. I just been working on her crayon and Prisma outlining this bottle bot. That one, she's really a bottle bot. Then we go over to, in this book, after the grayscale, I've been working on him, crayons and pencil at this point, because I've been working on it for a couple days. Actually, I used Sivo pencils, Crayola crayons, and then I've just yesterday came along with a little tiny bit of Prisma where I really want strong, bright color. Through this book, then, I left the grayscale. There we go. I left the grayscale to liner. This is what appears in the front of the book with the gray in it, my originals, and then another painstaking process of going over every single thing with my computery pen is doing this to create the liner. So you also have in this book quite a bit of versatility. You have my originals and someone I know very well. She got her book and said, I don't think I even want to do anything with the grayscales. I kind of just like looking at them. And I did too, which is another reason why had I done the double pages of them, the book ends up not costing much more because in order to get the name on the spine, it's going to have to be what it is. And I probably could have put a duplicate in there so that you could leave one alone and color one and say the best of both worlds, because they really are fun to color and they color very easily. So now I've used my beautiful crayon over the line art with the idea that I want the translucency of 2 glass bottles. So I'm going to lightly take my beautiful crayon and cover up and go right over the other bottle bot's body. I'll say that one fast. The bottle bot's body, the bottle bot's body. And then over here, I'm going to strengthen that line and then double up on all of it, because now we have extreme overlap going on here. I'm choosing shades of blue because I am learning or trying to teach myself and discover how the best way to do these bottles. And my brain said, if I try to do this one in blue and this one in orange, I'm going to have some problem here as I try to master the illusion of glass. And so something told me stick with the same colors, sort of, kind of, so you're not going, you're not ready for that, Deb. You're just not ready for whatever that would be. I'm not there. And so it seemed to me to be smart to just keep working with um, the same sort of, the same color family with what I'm working on. But, you just color it. It doesn't matter if it looks like a glass bottle or not. They're just sort of cool. These guys are like hands up. I think they're being arrested. I'm not sure what the story here is. They remind me of something out of the Addams Family, and I can't think of which character offhand, but that's what I see in there. You can add a lot to this line art, but I left it basic for that reason. And I'm going to grab the black Prisma, because if you do this and you add the eyebrows, you can do that. You could even go like this, because I didn't use this for much. The frown, and check that out. You can add your eyeballs if you wanted to. We'll do that on this page. Yep. Now look at the difference between eyeballs and no eyebrows. It's totally amazing to me. Nose and no nose. No nose. And I just want to do a little hook nose there. Just, like an L. It's an L. Just here's an L. I'm going to do the real letter L. And there is a simple nose. If you do a backwards L, the nose is going to be going the other way. So here you go. You get to play on that. Then I'm going to flip over to, and I really like both parts of this book. I'm so glad I decided to include the gray, because it's a the gray is much easier, totally not stressful coloring. You have to think a lot more for this, even if you're doing the same colors. It does require a little more brain activity over here. It does. And then way in the back, pretty sure this guy's the last. Yep, that's the last page in the whole series. This section is all about playing with eyeballs. And I did put the little eyeballs in here so that people understood. And if you've got a white pen, if you have it, I have to find my white pens. I know I have some somewhere, but I have very bad luck with ink not drying out. And I have found that for my money, I'm just not real big into ink pens, because within a few months they don't want to work. Don't like that part. All right, so over here you have lots of pages, duplicates of the spellcaster alien, and try the eyeballs up, down, over, to the side. And I gave 4, so you have 4 ways of working and seeing, wow, that really does make a difference. The eyeball way up here. And I am going to say this because I'm going to be doing a special thing on the eyeballs in the alien. So that's going to be on tap for much later. The alien balloons. And here you have one on the left and right. And here to see the difference of where you put the little circle inside, and whether you make them a full circle or an open circle. And let's get out an ink pen for that demonstration. So here's what I'm talking about. When I say open circle, this is what I mean. Open circle. Totally different look than closed circle. I'm going to outline this so it really pops out a little bit with my favorite ink pens from the Dollar General store, which is not my favorite corporation at all. I've worked for them. They really don't care about their employees, and that's so sad. I believe in treating employees really well so they stay with you for a long time. Now, this is a really wonderful page to experiment on. And as I point out, you buy the book, you take a picture of the book, you show me that you did that, you message it to me somehow, you just say, how do I show you? And if you wanted to do this with a family or friends, or you should be teaching or whatever, up to a point, I will give you the file. So you can go and print them off and say, I just want to play with eyeballs for the whole day. Can I do that, Deb? Yeah, for the price of admission, I'll let you do that. As a thank you. And none of them have mouths. So this is sort of a fun place to play with. What else could I add and where they go from being aliens to more like people, bottle people. And you can do that. You can take the alien out of them and convert them into humans if you want to try that. Our face is really close up on this, but you get the idea. So there's a lot of playing back here in this part of the book, and I definitely gave you enough to keep playing in there. And then some of these guys, lots of I just selected a I really want to play with their faces, but I don't want to mess up the faces in the front. So this is the place to go in the back and have fun with that. And then this book finishes off with the coloring book adventures of Ima, Alien, and her far out friends, book 2, because there's a 1 and 2. These were just fun to do, and they are totally different. They're not glass bottle aliens. They're just my idea of a real alien. And there you have it. How to take this book and play around with crayons and more and enjoy that. And I'm going to sign off because I have yet to do, I'm working backwards so that when people click on my channel, it's laid out logically. So I have to go from the end to the beginning. And so I will be back going after a break. I will return to do the look through the book um, segment on this channel. And when you're watching the look through the book channel, this would be the middle, really. And then there's the what I did with the Black Pages book. So just always click and check and definitely go see the YouTubes I have where there's 700 or so people that watch, because that's kind of fascinating to see what got the attention of so many. And actually, it is pretty fascinating, and they're pretty old now, fairly old. What's with the word pretty? I don't know. I like that. This looks good. I'm gonna just stop right here on my list now. This is also it's at the time of this broadcast. I never know because Amazon plays around with pricing. But at the time of this broadcast, it's $8.95. There's a lot of pages to this book. It's a big book. It has the name on the spine. I don't make much because I try to keep it under 10. 133 pages, basically divided by 2. 11.6 ounces, 8 by. It's nice size. And just also a really good. My grandkids had gotten Amazon delivery of their homeschool swivel chairs, so I couldn't compete with what was coming out of those boxes, and they were really okay. They also I couldn't compete with the bubble wrap. They're all under 7 years of age, and I totally lost. They could cared less what I was showing them about these books, because bubble wrap was a whole lot better than looking at my alien books. But a pack of crayons in a cello bag, and this is going to outlast all of the toys and the stuff they go through. And you're like, yeah. And this is something they can do with a clipboard on their laps, even while they go through their YouTube crazy stuff they watch. Whatever it is. I can't even think of the names of what they watch and go, I don't know why you want to watch this stuff, but okay. So a nice gift idea and really a fun grandma thing to do. Um, with oh gosh, I have to watch the children. Well, if you're sitting there and coloring, they want to color too, and I have to. That's my good pack of crayons. You have a great big ice cream bucket of what you've done to your crayons. These are mine. They're mine. Hands off. Go use yours. The broken ones. The ones you've broken. Yeah, I'm that kind of grandma. I mean, we play, but, like, don't you touch my good crayons. Little girl. And I know what she's going to do. She sees these nice, beautiful, pointy crayons. And her brother, there's two girls and a boy. Well, the oldest one actually will treat these nicely. The other two, one just wants to peel the wrappers off, which is great for, I like to put placemats behind my stuff and then color sideways to give it a really cool background, like this. I cut that so that it goes right up against the book because you don't want to move it around at all. You want to keep a nice firm hold. I'm going to just demonstrate this part. I'm going to grab that green. Now this is where my grandson peeling off the wrappers of the crayons that people go, well, how do you sharpen your crayons? I'm like, at the price of these, I don't. I just get a new pack. That's what I do. And I save some for I want the pointed part and some that it doesn't matter. I'm just coloring it in. But using a placemat, which is fun to collect from your lovely Dollar Trees, your cheaper stores, look for anything with texture to it that can be placed behind. This was what we did like in 1965. this was state of the art in my school. We called them rubbings. I think that's the name of that. But really makes for an interesting and easy to do background, and also quietly, therapeutically relaxing. And once again, a really wonderful thing to do for people of all skill levels and all ages. Um, when working with others, that just to get them to slow down and focus. I've had brain trauma people I've worked with, and getting them to not have to shift all over the place would be a monumental hurdle. And even explaining the why, the logic behind, because brain injury people often lose their sense of rational thought and their processing. And you want to work on that, just like, if you want a tighter tummy, raising your arm up and down is going to do nothing for your stomach muscles. So this has a lot of therapeutic value to it. Just to even take a piece of paper and do this over it with young people, so that you have to show them. You have to show them, look, I'm taking my time, and if I use the same amount of pressure, it's going to turn out better. If I press down harder, I'm going to get a whole different look to this. It is amazing coloring over a placemat, all the different things that can happen depending on how you're using your crayon. And right now I am using a very, very controlled amount of pressure, because I've done this so many times that I know what to do and what not to do. And I know that the key to doing it and getting a really nice look is to definitely hold down. That hand over down here is doing a job. It is not just sitting here. It's holding it all in place so that as I move around, I can try to make sure that that design is going to remain stationary, or it's going to be a very different look. I start moving this around, it's going to look very different. And when you get to the crack, that takes even more skill. I am set nicely off. Some of my books got a little close to the crack at times. I have an entire series of books called Color My Crack, where I was really working with the layout and how that would work or not work. And then it evolved into the adult Color My Crack, where it is pretty butts. Not gross, disgusting, but we had to. I had to. As people were enjoying watching me create the crack books, I said I have to do a very adult book of the back, from the backs, from the hippie chick to whatever. So the D. McDonald Designs Color My Crack, very adult book. Beautiful derrieres. I wouldn't do ugly. There's enough ugly and disgusting in this world. So look at that. Pretty cool, huh? It is really. And then there's so many different, a sink mat, a this, a that. Um, I have a colander, flat lids and things. You just start walking around your house going, what do you have with a pattern? I just want to go see how that would color. How would this look with something else? And you will never be bored. Never, ever, ever, ever. That was really loud, Deb. So I have all of these things, anything with a texture. And then way back in the day, we had our own stencils. So I went back to 1965 or 62, and I cut out the hearts like paper snowflakes. I used a hole puncher and I made my own little, this is all out of cardstock, so it's a little stronger. And I created my own background stencils. And that was fun too. And right now in the world of we're shut in, or you should be shut in, it's kind of fun to find things that you didn't have the time for because we were out and about all the time. And at this point in time, I'm sure many people are getting really tired of watching TV and having nothing to do. So finding something different is a good thing to break up our trying to stay away from others until we feel that we can go out and be safe again, whenever that's going to be. Not sure. However, I think we're in for quite a while, so find something interesting to do. And the nice thing is, it's all put together. And oh, I hope I don't have anything on the stove. I had to go check the stove.